All right, so what we want to talk about today is how do you spend time in this research group as a PhD student, okay? And we're going to break it down across 4 areas. First one is who's funding you, where are you getting your money, because that group, so roughly, again, students when they come in, if you're an RA, you are supported for what they call 50% time, or 50% FTE. What that means is your half-time, you officially work 20 hours. That is you think about from a government perspective, it's a 20-hour-a-week job. Okay, so how do we portion out that 20 hours? Okay, the first big chunk is going to be 10 hours of that will be towards the funding mechanism, the grant that's paying for you. If you're a TA can also be a full 10, or it could even be 20 hours. That's just a TA. But for our group, an RA, you'll spend 10 hours for that group. So what that means is writing code, attending meetings. These are the types of topics that, for example, Jacob, you're going to do as part of this grant. You're going to be a part of meetings. You're going to write code. You're going to read papers with respect to that. Anything that supports the grant, that takes up half your time. Mm-hmm. The next thing is some infrastructure. What this means is that this is going to be things that benefit everybody in the group. So this would be code, for example, towards Virtual People Factory. It could be stuff that maintaining the web page for the entire group. There's lots of ways to provide value. We have a Trello board of things that we know we want to work on and improve. That's a great place to go into. Roughly 2 hours a week. And for now, a good way to get up to speed on that is you go into infrastructure. That's a 1 hour a week meeting, but that's where they actually open up code, start going through that, and you can start asking questions. And we found that to be the fastest way to get people into the space. You should, as a rule of thumb, when you are doing work with the group, what we usually say is try to find an answer out on your own. But if it's going more than about 30 minutes and you're stuck, that should be a time where you can go, you open up Slack, go to the help channel, just fire off your question there, or ask somebody if they're right there, you know that somebody has the answer. Give yourself about 30 minutes to try to find out on your own. After that, quit wasting your time. Don't get stuck in the mud. Get help. Don't be afraid to get to actions. And if you need some assistance with that, you can always CC me or wrote me into those conversations. All right, so infrastructure is 2 hours a week, and then your research topic, maybe 8 hours a week. In my research group, I am very, very emphatic in that you define your own research topic. It's not a model that necessarily all groups follow. I intentionally will provide, my goal, I see myself as providing an ecosystem. I provide it as money. I provide it as researchers, colleagues, and some areas that just triage you're talking about. Now, what area in that might be your dissertation? I don't know. And actually, I don't want to tell you. I've got some ideas. If you ask me for a list of them, I could pop off 3 or 4. But I don't want to, I think that there's a lot of learning value for you to go through this area, and over the course of probably the first 2 years, start to throw around some ideas and finally try to hone in on something that will be your topic. So really, at the beginning, these research goals would be to learn more about virtual humans and VR, very broad things, and over the next semesters, narrow it down to the grant that you're on and topics that you find interesting. Some people do research on the thing that funds them, which would be great, but that's not the only model. You could be interested in something totally separate than what you're doing your development on to get paid, right? To get supported. You could do a research topic on something else. TIMA is a good example of this. Okay, TIMA is being funded by the colorectal cancer. That's the virtual human on a phone. Mm-hmm. Okay? She's working on developing that application for that grant. But her true passion is working with children, and she wants to work with children on the autism spectrum disorder, that's the ASD spectrum. And so what she is doing is that she does her work here, and her research is separate, which is to work on learning about ASD and how to develop systems to help train medical people to help diagnose people on the spectrum. Okay, so again, you don't really have much infrastructure now, but go to infrastructure meetings, choose 1 or 2 topics there, and then when it goes to research areas, right now, really spend your time reading. So reading roughly about 1 paper a week. How long should you spend on it? That should be the next question. 1 hour. Okay? Spend 1 hour on each paper that you're going to read. So roughly 1 hour, and then you're going to write that recap inside the weekly report. You've sometimes seen that. And at first, this is going to be about virtual humans and VR. So reading papers that are with our group and then seeing who they reference. And then over time, then you're going to obviously be reading a lot of papers based on your grant. After that, you'll be able to start seeing what is your research direction, hopefully by the end of your second year, because you'll be taking classes your first year significantly. It'll take up a lot of your time. You should have a general direction that you want to start tackling for your dissertation. As you come along, there are projects that we have that you might be asked to support. These are things that we don't currently have funding, but people we've worked with in the past, or it's a service we provide to the community. An example would be our cranial nerve patients, virtual patients. We built that from the NIH grants a couple years ago. We make them freely available to anybody online. Sometimes a professor will reach out to me, I want to use it. Great. I'll send them to you so that you will spend roughly a few minutes every few weeks or so where they'll say, hey, I need access to this, and you'll send them the links or whatever. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is your career goals. And what do we want for you to plan for this next, to the end of the semester, do you want to focus on as a career? So we'll write that here. Are there any questions real fast before I hit stop on the recording?